A mercenary with a three-bladed sword returns to his old kingdom, only to find that he is to fight a tyrant king and an evil sorcerer. In a world where sorcery thrives, King Titus Cromwell and his men head to Tomb Island. With the help of a witch he holds captive, he searches for a cave where Zusha of Delos resides, a long-dead sorcerer who might be the key to overthrowing his nemesis. When they finally locate the cave, Cromwell tells his men to wait outside while he, his right-hand man, and the witch enter the cave to conjure Zusha. Inside, they find a tomb with faces engraved on its walls, and when the witch commences her ritual, they all come to life and begin screaming. Suddenly, something emerges from the tomb, and it's Zusha himself, back from the dead. Thankful to be graced by his presence, the witch licks the substance from the sorcerer's hand. Zusha then asks Cromwell about his intentions, so the king explains that he needs the sorcerer's help in recovering Aedan, the richest kingdom in the world. He has already lost to its king 4 times, but with Zusha's help, he'll be victorious. The sorcerer asks what is in it for him, and Cromwell's right-hand man replies that his life is more than enough for a reward. After all, they're not even sure of his capabilities. To prove that he's mighty, Zusha summons the witch's beating heart into his hand. Convinced, Cromwell reminds Zusha to remain loyal to him, or he'll send him back to the depths of hell. Meanwhile, in the kingdom of Aedan, the people celebrate 20 years of peace and tranquility. However, the wise King Richard remains worried, as he has been having dreams of Aedan's doom. He keeps this from his wife, Queen Malia, who invites him to greet their guests. Unbeknownst to them, Cromwell's army, along with Zusha and his black magic, have already stormed across the borders of Aedan. With half of Richard's army dead, Cromwell decides to get rid of Zusha while he's still weak from being conjured, as he's already served his purpose. With this, Cromwell stabs Zusha with a dagger and throws him off a cliff. Meanwhile, Richard's eldest son, Prince Tavis, reports to his father that the battle has been lost. His face is half rotten, but before he can reveal that black magic is involved, Tavis dies. Malia then enters the room with their other son, Prince Talon. As she weeps over Tavis, Richard tells her to escape to the river, where a boat waits for them. Talon insists that Richard takes him to battle, but the king only entrusts him with a triple-bladed sword, which he should use to avenge him if he dies. Not long after, the battle begins in the sea cliffs of Elysium, where Aedan loses as expected. Talon heads to the battleground when the chaos subdues, and there he sees Mogulen, Richard's right-hand man. Mogulen tells the lad to save the queen, as Cromwell will be out to get her. However, Talon sees Cromwell killing his father. Enraged, he tries to go to him, but Mogulen reminds him to save his mother instead. At the river, Malia takes her 2 youngest children to the boat. However, they're ambushed by Cromwell's men, who kill her youngest son. Suddenly, Cromwell appears, and his men take the princess away. He tells Malia that he'll spare the princess if she proclaims him king. However, Malia only stabs him with a dagger, which fuels Cromwell into killing her. Finally, Talon arrives, but he's unable to save his mother. As he heads down the hill to fight Cromwell, he gets attacked by 2 men. His hand gets injured, but he uses his triple-bladed sword as a crossbow and shoots its blades at the men. Seeing that the prince has escaped, Cromwell orders his soldiers to find him no matter what. Years pass, and the prince has not been found, as if he vanished into the void. Unknown to most, Talon has become a grown man and earned a reputation as a fearless warrior. 11 days before the anniversary of Cromwell's victory, Talon and his band of mercenaries arrive at the outskirts of Aedan. Unbeknownst to everyone, Zusha lives after healing for 8 years under the Black Sea, and now he seeks revenge on Cromwell. After one of his spies informs him of the upcoming rebellion against Cromwell, Zusha plans to seek revenge upon the king for his betrayal. Elsewhere, Cromwell is troubled by the rumored rebellion. He refuses to attend meetings with his generals, so he assigns Count Makelly to do the task. In a pub, Prince Micah, the son of Richard's closest advisor and leader of the rebellion, secretly meets up with one of his men, Rodrigo. There, he hands him a note containing information about their cause. Suddenly, Talon and his men arrive. The bartender reckons that they're traveling warriors, so he informs them that they've come to the right place to look for jobs. He explains that there are 2 bidders for their services, one being Cromwell and the other Prince Micah, who the people believe is the rightful heir to the throne. Outside, Micah meets up with Makelly, who seems to be working with him. The count assures the prince that their plans are set for the next day, so he wishes him luck. Later that night, Micah reunites with his sister Alana, who had just returned to Aedan. Alana shows him a map with the secret passages to Cromwell's castle, raising Micah's hopes of winning the rebellion. With this, he tells his men to deliver the word that their cause starts the next day. Shortly after they leave, Cromwell and his men suddenly bust into the room. In a duel with the cruel king, Micah gets overpowered and captured, while Alanna escapes. As they take Micah away, he sees Makelly, who only fooled him into thinking he'd betrayed the king. Elsewhere, Alanna continues to run from Cromwell's men. They catch up to her, but Talon suddenly appears and saves Alanna. Trusting the man, Alanna brings Talon to the rebels' hideout. There, she informs one of her men, Krakus, to announce that the rebellion is cancelled since her brother has been captured. Later on, Alanna asks Talon to rescue Micah in exchange for money. However, Talon isn't interested in her offer, but he'd be willing to do it if she lets him bed her. Left with no choice, Alanna agrees to give herself for one night. Just then, Krakus reports to Alanna that some of the rebels are being cornered by Cromwell's men. Although Krakus believes that they're as good as dead, Alanna asks Talon to rescue her men. Despite his refusal, Alanna reminds him that this is a part of their agreement. Before leaving, Talon asks Alanna for a kiss, which seems to have stunned her. Not long after he goes, Cromwell's men enter the hideout, killing everyone in their path and taking Alanna with them. Meanwhile, Talon arrives at the cave where Cromwell's men corner the rebels who refuse to surrender. Seeing that the army intends to burn the rebels alive, Talon pours oil beneath the men's feet without them noticing. He then lights them on fire, killing them and saving the rebels in the process. The following morning, the rebels lead Talon to a tunnel that leads to the dungeons, where Micah is situated. In the castle, Cromwell meets Alanna, whom he intends to marry. She refuses to be wedded to him, but Cromwell threatens to kill her brother. After this, he heads to the dungeons, where he tortures Micah into revealing where Zusha is. Although Micah knows nothing, Cromwell insists that only the sorcerer is capable of challenging him, so he must have helped the younger man to form his rebellion. When Micah justifies that he's the only leader of the rebellion, Cromwell still can't help but think that Zusha is using a human form to work undercover. In the tunnels, Talon and the rebels are pursued by a horde of famished mice. Two of them fail to escape, thus getting eaten by the rodents. Not long after, they reach the secret entrance to the dungeons. Talon goes to rescue Micah by himself while the rebels stand guard at the entrance. However, Cromwell's men discover them not long after he leaves. Meanwhile, Talon duels the dungeon guards and easily overpowers them. He then dresses himself in a soldier's uniform to go find Micah. Along his way, he runs across the rebels he was with earlier and gets pissed at how careless they were to be captured. After freeing them, he also releases the other prisoners. One of them is Esta Devereaux, Cromwell's architect, who also built the castle. Cromwell threw him in the dungeons 5 years ago to keep the secrets of the castle's hidden passages. Thankful for Talon's benevolence, he promises to tell him everything he knows. Meanwhile, Cromwell discovers the situation in the dungeons, so he heads there to inspect. Before leaving, he tells his lady escort, Elizabeth, to stay in the chamber with Micah. However, he secretly tells the guard outside to kill them both. Elizabeth happens to be one of the rebels, and she's responsible for providing Alanna with the castle's secret passages. As she frees Micah from his chains, a soldier enters the chamber and wields his sword. However, he aims this at Micah's chains, freeing him. It turns out to be Talon who has come to rescue them. After this, Talon leaves Micah to the rebels. Then Elizabeth kisses him to show her gratitude. Talon plans on finishing off Cromwell's men, but the rebels remind him that they're on this mission together. However, when a bunch of soldiers come their way, Talon finds himself abandoned by his companions. With no choice, he fights them off and soon finds himself in Cromwell's personal brothel. Dazed by his features, the women hold off the soldiers, allowing Talon to escape. Meanwhile, Alanna is getting a massage in preparation for the wedding. When Talon and the soldiers barge into the room, he can only look at Alanna before he falls out the window. The chase doesn't end here as more men pursue Talon. Eventually, he gets cornered in a hallway where Cromwell presents himself. Cromwell believes that he's Zusha, and despite being clueless about his accusations, Talon decides to avenge his parents. As the two battle, the king refuses help as he wants to defeat his opponent on his own. Cromwell soon disarms the warrior, leaving Talon with no choice but to flee. Cromwell follows him, and they end up dueling under a waterfall. There, Talon overpowers the king, but Makelly knocks him out from behind. Makelly's assistance insults Cromwell, but he defends that they can't let Zusha win. Despite never knowing if he could have won, the king accepts the outcome. The following day, Rodrigo reports to Micah that Alanna is to be wed to Cromwell while Talon will be executed. Despite being injured, Micah plans to rally his men to save them, even if it means dying. Meanwhile, in In a brothel, Talon's fellow mercenaries hear about his execution. Philip believes that they'll be outnumbered, but Darius insists that they must save Talon either way. Overhearing them, one of Talon's old cohorts, Captain Morgan, pops out from one of the chambers and offers his assistance and manpower. Suddenly, Elizabeth returns to the brothel. She talks about the warrior who saved her, and Philip and Darius realize that it was Talon. Learning that he'll be executed, she offers to lead them to the castle's secret passage. However, they all end up getting captured. Elizabeth and Philip have had their tongues cut out when they refuse to divulge who sent them to the castle, and the guard, Verdugo, threatens to kill them if the others don't confess. Refusing to be used as a hostage, Elizabeth takes her captor's hand and stabs herself with his knife instead. Philip uses this chance to attack the guard, but he gets killed as well. Seeing the quiet anger of his prisoners, Verdugo leaves. As the king is busy with his wedding, Makelly leads a meeting with his generals. They plan to kill everyone at the wedding, including all the noblemen and women of the kingdom, once Alanna makes her vows. This is to make Cromwell the only ruler of the land. That night, the feast commences. While the kingdom's elites gather in the Great Hall, Talon is crucified on a cross as a display. One of the nobilities recognizes him, as he has once worked for them to reclaim their lands. With this, they plan to save him even if it means starting a war. The wedding soon begins, and as the priest presides over the Holy Union, a bunch of concubines releases Talon's men in the dungeons. They immediately gather weapons and prepare for their ambush while Morgan brutally kills Verdugo. In the Great Hall, Cromwell's archers wait for Alanna to recite her vows. Before she can, Talon uses the last bit of his strength to free his hand from the nails that bind him to the cross. He screams Cromwell's name, which triggers everyone in the hall to spring into action. Talon's men and the elite who support him gather to attack Cromwell's men. As the bloodbath ensues, Talon releases his other hand from the cross, then joins the others. Darius tosses the three-bladed sword to Talon, allowing him to gain the upper hand against Cromwell's forces. Meanwhile, Makelly leads Cromwell and Alanna to safety. However, before they can escape, they find themselves greeted by Talon, who has the three-bladed sword in hand. With a single swing of this mighty weapon, Talon breaks the men's blade. However, he loses momentum when he gets pinned to the ground, allowing Makelly and Cromwell to escape with Alanna. Rodrigo and the other rebels aid Talon, so he uses this time to go after them. In the catacombs that lead out of the castle, Makelly reveals to Alanna that he'll overthrow Cromwell, claiming that it's time for his reign to begin. Alanna argues that Micah is the rightful heir, but Makelly replies that he's dead. He then tells Alanna to join forces with him or she'll die. Suddenly, Alanna's demeanor shifts, and she seduces Makelly into thinking she's docile. Then, she suddenly hits him between the legs, only to realize that it doesn't affect him. Makelly reveals a devilish smile, and he unveils his true identity. His skin starts to rip until Zusha's real form emerges from it. He then uses his powers to immobilize Alanna, but Cromwell attacks before he can touch her. However, he is no match for the sorcerer. Alanna tries to escape while Zusha is occupied, but he only knocks her unconscious. After this, Zusha returns to Cromwell, and he starts punishing him for his betrayal by extracting his soul. Suddenly, Talon appears, and he argues with Zusha about who gets to kill Cromwell. Zusha then uses his powers on Talon, making him bleed and immobile. However, the warrior musters the strength to point the three-bladed sword towards Zusha and shoots a blade into the sorcerer's chest. Just then, Cromwell gets up and challenges Talon. To make the duel fair, Talon releases one of the blades and starts attacking his opponent. As the fight progresses, Talon's blade breaks, so he uses the sword's hidden dagger as a last resort. On the other hand, Cromwell releases the blades from the other side of his sword, making it have two sharp edges. As the men continue fighting, Alanna wakes up, only to find that a giant constrictor snake has wrapped itself around her body. Meanwhile, Cromwell mercilessly attacks Talon, but the warrior finds the perfect time to stab the evil king. With his last breath, Cromwell asks who Talon is, and he replies that he's the son of King Richard. Finally, Cromwell dies, but then Talon hears Alanna scream. He hurriedly runs to her and kills the snake, saving her. Suddenly, Zusha springs back to life, but Talon only sends him back to hell when he stabs him in the stomach. In the Great Hall, the fight has been won. Seeing them, Talon throws the crown to Micah, and everyone cheers for the warrior who saved the new king's sister. Having no plans to claim the throne, he keeps the truth about his identity from everyone, allowing Micah to rule Aedan. After this, Talon claims his prize from Alanna, which she willingly gives him. The following day, Talon and his band of mercenaries head to the kingdom of Maladon to help reclaim it. Before they depart, Rodrigo joins them, and together they ride into the sunset.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.